Private blog post by user Bad Apple, dated 9/13, redacted. Alexandria Standard Time.
I've decided to create this little post in the eventuality that either of them or any miscellaneous third parties tries to question me when I tell them I knew this shit all along. The only problem I'm finding is that I'm worried when I send the link they might just think they're getting rickrolled. Oh well, I'll just get to gloat harder when they realize I'm being legit. So here it is, my entire history with the user Tetractus, the information I've dug up on him since, and my speculations on everything else. At most, about 2 people are going to see this, but buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. First, a little review. Why am I bothering to write up an entire essay about Othernet user number 518420? I first came into contact with Tetractus during the latest batch of witch drama, which leaked out of Jernabog and onto the All's Nasty forums, courtesy of user Chorus, and of the interested parties, Tetractus was one of the first on the scene, as it were. He immediately struck me as someone with A lot of knowledge about the inner workings of the Othernet, and B, a lot of concerns for an incident that, on the surface at least, didn't seem to involve him in the slightest. In the aftermath of said incident, I had the pleasure of engaging in a rather one-sided conversation with the man in DMs, and my suspicions solidified. Everything that came after, the deletion of chatbot Mary and the unfortunately abrupt exit of wannabe anime villain Baphomet, only served to corroborate all of my thoughts. Disappointingly, the bastard decided to unmask himself before I got my detective moment, so indulge me for just a brief while. In all my interactions with him, Tetractus displayed far too much knowledge, like I said. He knew that the mods are demons, a common rumor on the forums to be sure, but beyond that, he also knew what their exact purpose and directives are, and could also recognize when one was not following that directive. He also repeatedly displayed an uncanny amount of knowledge about occult programming, and already knew exactly how to digitize workings. Suffice it to say, when he revealed his true identity as Pythagoras, the daddy of the Othernet itself, I wasn't exactly surprised, you know. As it currently stands, he has promised to explain his situation, so here I am making sure I get everything down before he does so I can prove that I could have told you everything he's going to say. Because yes, I am simply that petty. So here is everything I know about the mysterious figure known only by the moniker of Pythagoras. Speculations will come at the end, and then we'll see just how right I was. The very first search hits on Pythagoras actually predate the invention of the Othernet by a few years. He used that name on the actual internet as well, and besides a few scattered posts on programming forums and YouTube comment sections, his first big exposure to the public eye was as a speedrunner. Note to self, delete this next part before you show the plebeians. Of course, this is the internet in his home reality, which took me quite a while to track down, I might add, while the Othernet is a unified, universal space, just very vaguely holding the veil between realities together, and most definitely accomplished with some sort of outside help, the internet is sadly not. It seems that during his undergrad days, Pythagoras briefly moonlighted as a streamer and set several world records for a couple of different games. His latest time for the game Sky Soul still stands, though that may be due in part to the nature of the hardware. He even appeared at several GHF events, Games Heckin' Fast, a biannual charity event. As far as I'm aware, these are his only public appearances. He never even showed his face on his own live streams, which is a damn shame as he was kind of a cutie back in the day. However, once he graduated and then continued on to grad school, it seemed as if his time, interest, or possibly both, were falling off. His live streams became more and more infrequent until they just petered out altogether. Maybe he was already becoming disillusioned with the internet itself. And then there was a solid year of silence. 1 or 2 cohorts who were in contact with him claimed he was doing fine, just busy with grad work, and so the legend of Pythagoras, rising star of the speedrunning community, seemingly came to an end. Until almost exactly 13 months later, he came back with a live stream simply entitled Where I've Been Sick. In it, he described a project he'd spent the last 16 months working on with help from a core group of friends and colleagues, an alternate internet that promised not only to harken back to the glory days of the early interwebs, but that would also be designed to prevent any sort of corporate entity from gaining a foothold on it. Ever. Selling ad space would not be allowed, and any social media-esque websites created for the platform would be strictly non-profit. Of course, there was an immediate influx of questions. How many people were involved in the project? How was such a massive undertaking even being accomplished? How would these grand anti-corporate claims be upheld? Pythagoras ended the live stream before answering any of them. Over the next few weeks, Pythagoras opened a forum, fitting, for the Othernet Project, and began answering questions there. Some of them, at least. The answers that did come were rather vague, but just satisfactory enough that the project seemed legit. Eventually, several other users with special symbols by their names, which indicated that they were official members of the project, joined in as well, and a handful were fairly recognized users. Everything seemed above water, but because of the general level of secrecy about some of the project's more technical aspects, there was always a small level of tension. About 5 months after the first announcement, a form went up to screen for volunteers. The official beta test was almost ready. Some of the much-touted features like the mod system wouldn't be implemented quite yet, but it would be a good testing ground to see if it would work with a smaller group of users. There were more than a few bugs to work out, but overall the beta launch was a massive success. Any remaining haters were thoroughly shut down, and the entire new Othernet population worshipped Pythagoras like only a Greek philosopher come cult leader could be. The other official members of the project didn't help. They were somehow even more fawning. Some of them started calling themselves Pythagoreans. Disgusting sheeple, if you ask me. Finally, after another 6 months of testing, the damn thing was ready for public launch. The date came. The Othernet was officially open to the public. But there was nothing. No word from either Pythagoras or any of his crew. Just silence. For days. A few of the mods introduced themselves, but aside from a few words, also kept pretty quiet. Then, finally, something came from Pythagoras, but it was just a series of patch notes with no personal words whatsoever. In fact, besides those patch notes and several others in the coming months, Pythagoras didn't even speak to people that were personally acquainted with him. Eventually, even his patch notes stopped as well. Patches continued, of course, but the notes began to be posted by a generic admin account instead. And that is the last that anyone ever heard from Pythagoras. Some speculated that he'd been disappeared by the corporate elite for daring to make something they couldn't infect like the sick little parasites they are. Some that he'd been institutionalized, that the pressure of creating an entire Othernet had simply been too much. Others thought that he was just dead. Of course, I never believed any of that for a second, though I will sadly be sworn to secrecy in the near future. The curtains will be lifted. At least a little. So here's what I think. As we know, the Othernet exists only because of occult machinations. Pythagoras, or Tetractus as he will henceforth be known, is not to my understanding a magus, nor is it possible for him to be a witch, but he needed to learn how to digitize workings somehow. Someone knew how to do it. Someone taught him. It is frankly impossible to give specifics until I know a little more. All I can say is that multiple other persons were just as deeply responsible for the Othernet as he is, but it's hard to say where they are now. Frankly, I doubt they're all alive and well. Because I think that something happened on the night of the launch. Maybe something went wrong, or maybe the toll was simply larger than anticipated. Binding ancient demons into code is not simple magic. Regardless, the launch was a success, but I don't think Pythagoras and crew got away with it without a price.
Private group message, dated 9/16, redacted. Alexandria Standard Time.
All right. I promised I'd talk. So it's time to talk.
Finally!
I'm here.
Same.
Holy shit, that was fast. Were you guys, waiting around this whole time?
Kinda.
I mean, you kind of left us on a pretty big cliffhanger.
I have been refreshing this chat constantly for the last month.
You don't have anything better to do?
Nope, I had to keep myself occupied with morons in the forums.
Tragic. Now will you please shut up?
I was honestly hoping you'd all go on a bit longer.
Sorry, friend. I think we're all dying to hear your story.
Well, it's like I said. I'm Pythagoras. I was. Not much else to it. But I'm sure you all want a little more than that.
Compared to these two, I'm sure I don't know a whole ton about the Othernet's inception. How did you make this whole thing?
I had help. A lot of it, actually. The idea was kind of mine, but the Othernet was created by a whole team of people. I was getting my master's in comp sci at the time, so I pulled a lot of my buddies from the department, but there were also a couple of people from my speedrunning days who joined us.
But that can't have been it, right?
What do you mean?
It couldn't have just been computer nerds on the team, what with the bound demons and all.
Oh. There was a witch helping us out and a professor from the religion department.
Religion department?
He probably specialized in the occult, right?
Yeah. That's right. He's the one that gave us a lot of the ideas on that front.
So then the story is as everyone knows it. You and your ragtag team of worshippers, friends, built the Othernet from the ground up with your very own blood, sweat, and other bodily fluids.
What? What does she mean by worshippers?
You haven't heard the rumors? Some of the Othernet devs got a little freaky towards the end of the project.
Freaky?
I didn't really mean for it to happen. Hell, one of the reasons I quit speedrunning is because some of my subs started getting parasocial.
Sounds like your own fault for picking that name.
I just liked that he was a guy that believed math and more abstract concepts were compatible. But maybe I tempted something with it. I don't know. I just felt like I was doing something important. And the people around me started treating me like some kind of visionary. So maybe I started acting like it. You mix in the occult stuff and most likely too many drugs.
You started a cult.
I really didn't mean for it to happen. And by the time I realized it was going too far, it was way too late. The release was only a month or so away anyway. I figured I'd sort it all out after.
But after never came, right?
The silence after the release.
If I'm honest, it's all such a blur that it would be impossible to sort out over text. And I don't think I'd even want to try. We needed to bind the demons somehow. The ritual was going off without a hitch.
But then?
Tetractus?
Then somebody died. None of us were the same after that.
Oh.
Most of us haven't spoken since. I don't even know where most of them are anymore. I dealt with the body myself. Kept patching the Othernet myself. For a while, at least. It was all my fault. I got used like a chump.
Used? By whom?
I don't really even know. I think I need to be done talking about this.
We understand.
Sorry if we pushed you. You know we're always here, right?
I actually appreciate that. I really do. But now I'm going to self-medicate and pass out.
Probably for the best.
User Tetractus has left the chat.
Shit. Now I feel terrible.
I mean, he simply wouldn't have told us if he didn't want to.
He definitely didn't. But sometimes you have to do stuff like that anyway.
Private message from user Bad Apple to user Tetractus.
I just have one more itsy-bitsy question for you.
Fuck it. Shoot.
At the end there, you mentioned you were used by someone. Was it that professor you talked about earlier?
Maybe. Why?
He's a professor. I might know him.
Are you an academic?
Academia and I have a complicated relationship. What was his name?
Odell.
Very interesting. And now I leave you to your Mary J. in bed.
User Bad Apple has left the chat.
Thanks.
User Admin has joined the chat.
Great. What perfect fucking timing.
I've simply noticed you've resumed activity.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna mess up your little project if that's what you want to know.
For what other reason would you return?
Everything here. You may have put the idea in my head. But this is my responsibility. Just trying to clean up the messes that you refuse to.
What if the messes, as you put it, are by design?
That's not what this whole thing was supposed to be. It was supposed to be about people. It was supposed to have a beating heart.
By your conception, perhaps.
Maybe you've got different ideas. But you didn't build it. I did. And unlike you, I'm going to take responsibility for what I've done.
User Tetractus has left the chat.
Very well, then. I hope your zeal is well placed this time.